If I told you that right now, while you're watching this video, there are more women selling their bodies in Colombia than teachers in public schools, would you believe me? And if I told you that there are websites where you can book a vacation package that includes flight, five-star hotel, and 3 different escorts for a week, all for less than what you'd spend on a weekend in Vegas? But before we dive into these truths that nobody wants to talk about, let's take a step back and understand exactly where we are. Because to understand how Colombia became the hidden paradise of global sex tourism, we first need to grasp the geography that shaped this destiny. Welcome to Colombia, the country where desperation became a tourism industry and where poverty disguises itself as sexual freedom. What you're about to discover will make you understand why thousands of Europeans and Americans choose this destination for reasons you'll never find written in travel agency brochures. Colombia, the country where freedom costs less than a Starbucks coffee, but the consequences last a lifetime. Where Colombia is located. Imagine a country nestled between 2 oceans, where the Andes dive into the Pacific on one side and caress the Caribbean on the other. Colombia occupies the northwestern corner of South America, bordering Venezuela, Brazil, Peru, Ecuador, and Panama. It's almost twice the size of Texas, with 50 million inhabitants distributed between chaotic metropolises, impenetrable jungles, and paradisiacal coasts. Bogotá sits at 8,500 feet above sea level, nestled in an Andean valley where the air is so thin it takes your breath away just walking. But behind this dream postcard hides a reality that few really tell. Geography of extreme contrasts. This country is a concentration of biodiversity that makes the Amazon pale. There are deserts that look like Mars, like La Guajira on the border with Venezuela, and rainforests where it rains 300 days a year. The Magdalena River crosses the entire country from south to north, dragging sediment, history, and secrets with it. The Caribbean coasts are a paradise of white beaches and crystal clear waters, while the Pacific ones are wild, often beaten by giant waves. It's a country where you can ski on the snow of Andean glaciers in the morning and surf the ocean at sunset. But not everything that glitters is gold. A country with 1,000 dark faces. Colombia is famous worldwide for 3 things: the best coffee on the planet, drug cartels, and Pablo Escobar. The latter, who died in 1993, continues to be a morbid tourist attraction. In Medellin, they still sell T-shirts with his face, as if he were a hero instead of the most bloodthirsty criminal in modern history. But there's more, much more, that tour operators prefer not to tell. Medellin, once the world capital of violence with 380 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants, is now considered one of the most innovative cities in Latin America. A miracle? Not really. Violence has just moved, become more sophisticated, less visible. The dark side of paradise. But let's not kid ourselves like those colorful tourist brochures do. Colombia still bears the scars of decades of armed conflict, drug trafficking, and structural violence. The statistics speak clearly. It's still one of the countries with the highest homicide rate in the world, about 25 per 100,000 inhabitants. The FARC, paramilitaries, drug cartels have left deep wounds in the social fabric that don't heal with some peace project signed in Havana. And in this context of chronic instability, endemic poverty, and lack of opportunities, some sectors of the economy have developed in very particular ways. Prostitution, a $1 million business nobody wants to see. Here's the point that many prefer to ignore or whisper quietly in travel forums. Colombia has become a destination for international mass sex tourism. We're not talking about a few isolated cases, but an industrial phenomenon. The figures are impressive and chilling. It's estimated that over 100,000 people prostitute themselves in the country, of which at least 35,000 are minors. Cities like Medellin, Cartagena, and Cali attract thousands of tourists every year, mainly Europeans and North Americans, not just for the breathtaking scenery. Prostitution is technically legal for adults in delimited areas, but the border between legality and exploitation is often a line drawn in the sand. Luxury hotels with special services, escort, agencies that advertise on social media, specialized websites offering all-inclusive packages. It's a parallel industry that moves over $6 billion a year. And behind the smiles of girls dancing in clubs in Bogota's Zona Rosa or on Cartagena's waterfront, there are often hidden stories of desperation, domestic violence, families destroyed by poverty, and complete lack of alternatives. Colombian women between myth and brutal reality. But be careful not to fall into the stereotypes that fuel this business. Colombian women are not all as depicted by the collective imagination built by international sex tourism. On the contrary, the vast majority fights every day to build a dignified life in a country where opportunities for women are limited and gender violence kills one woman every 2 days. It's true, Colombian women are indeed known for their natural beauty, so much so that the country boasts numerous winners of Miss Universe and Miss World. But they are also innovative entrepreneurs, excellent doctors, combative lawyers, single mothers who raise their children alone working 12 hours a day. The famous sexual freedom that some enjoy is often the direct result of desperate economic necessity rather than true female emancipation. When the alternative is to starve or watch your children starve, choices become very simple and very cruel. A society in slow transformation. Today's Colombia is changing, but at different speeds depending on the neighborhood you're in. The new generations of the middle classes are more educated, more connected to the digital world, more aware of their civil rights. The government is investing billions in education and technological development, creating free public universities and professional training programs. Bogotá has one of the most modern public transport networks in South America. The peace process with the FARC, despite all its obvious limits and contradictions, has opened new perspectives for rural development. But structural problems remain intact like mountains. Social inequality is still among the highest in the world. The richest 10% controls 80% of national wealth. Corruption is so widespread that it's considered normal, part of the system. And drug trafficking, despite decades of war on drugs and billions of dollars spent on military operations, continues to be the cancer that corrupts institutions, law enforcement, and civil society. The other face of Colombia, authentic beauty. But it would be deeply unfair to stop here at the shadows and contradictions, because Colombia is also one of the most beautiful countries in the world, with cultural and natural wealth that few places on earth can claim. And this isn't tourism office rhetoric, it's pure reality. Cartagena de Indias is one of the best preserved colonial cities in the Americas, with its walls overlooking the Caribbean Sea and the flowered balconies of the historic center that seem to come out of a Garcia Marquez novel. Walking through the cobblestone streets at sunset, with the sound of salsa coming out of open windows and the smell of fresh ceviche, is an experience that gets into your bones. The Coffee Zone, declared UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a succession of green hills dotted with colonial haciendas where coffee is still harvested by hand today. Here you can sleep in an 1800s farm, wake up to the song of toucans, and drink the best coffee of your life watching the sun rise over the misty valleys. Tayrona, on the Caribbean coast, is a national park where the jungle reaches the crystal-clear sea. La Guajira is a desert that ends in the ocean, inhabited by the Wayu, people who still live according to millennial traditions. Here time has stopped, red sand dunes move with the wind, and pink flamingos color the salt lagoons like brushstrokes of a crazy painter. Bogotá, the chaotic capital, has the most important gold museum in the world, with thousands of pre-Columbian pieces that tell of disappeared civilizations. The Candelaria neighborhood is a maze of colonial streets where every wall is a work of street art. And the view from Montserrat, at 10,500 feet above sea level, shows you a city of 8 million inhabitants stretching infinitely between the Andean mountains. And what do you think about all this? Write me in the comments from which country you're watching this video, and tell me your opinion on this reality of Colombia. Have you ever visited this country? Were your experiences different from what you heard today? Don't forget to click on one of the videos you see on screen to continue this journey discovering incredible curiosities from around the world. We've prepared content that will leave you speechless about countries and cultures you probably don't know yet. And if you like this type of content, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our documentaries.